welcome to Spill the RT. I am here with Josh Stein. Hi, Josh. How are you doing?
Hi, folks. Hello, Eamon. I'm doing well. How about you?
After, look, all is good, all is good. And the fact that I have another tip woman with me today to keep me company is even better. So we can all gang up on you, Josh.
That should be interesting.
It will be interesting. All the best things happen in Tipperary, I tell you.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
What would you say is the number one thing that's happened in Tipperary?
Milk. There's no other question about it. I won't say the sport because I wouldn't be a fan of the sport that much, but I think they're good at the sport there too.
But milk is the number one
I
attraction.
love a good,
Good to know.
yeah,
Good
milk
to
and
know.
butter.
So for those in the U.S., we're basically saying Wisconsin and Tipperary, two of a
Perfect.
kind.
Perfect. Perfect. We'll let Áine talk a little bit more about her milk later.
So this week, the Mona Lisa of the Middle East is up for sale. A Taliban ban on images. Another entry in our art finds for cash series. A 12-meter phallus rises in Naples, and the Shield of Magdala has been repatriated back to Ethiopia. All that and a brand new guest are up next as we spill the art tea.
Yes, yes, yes. That's an exciting show ahead, and there's lots to catch on. But before we go, oh, look at you with your mug. You're very fancy. Getting that swag on, girl. Love it. So before we move in and bring in Anya, what are people to do at home?
You know this, folks. You got to like, you got to share, you got to subscribe, you got to send it to 3 friends, you got to ask us for swag. We need ideas. That will let us know you're actually paying attention to us. Tell us what the next piece of swag should be.
Absolutely. And if you want to come and join us on the show, reach out to us at hello@newacollective.com. We welcome everybody, whoever you are, come on board.
Absolutely.
So, Áine Ryan, here we go. Come on down. Welcome to the show, Anya.
How are you doing?
All good, all good, all good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excellent. Yeah, enjoying. I'm in Donegal, so really happy to be in Donegal and in a storm as well. So
Oh, dear.
double joy.
Don't get blown away up there now because you won't be able
Yeah.
to get back home. You don't want to be stuck in Donegal.
I know, but I think it's potentially my favorite county in Ireland. I came here a few times during COVID and I just love it so much. Such a nice place.
Great, great. Well, you can tell us more about your travels around Ireland later on, but we have a lot of things to get through today, don't we, Josh?
Oh, we certainly do.
So where are we going to first?
So first, I guess we head off to Egypt and London, since the piece started off in Egypt and then is going to be on, actually was on auction in Frieze this last week in London. So this is 2,000 years ago, folks. This is a portrait of someone that apparently inspired the portrait of Dorian Gray. I'm not quite certain how that direct connection happened, but that's how this was put into the article about this. This is a very rare piece. This is done using encaustic and pigments. This is a very rare, strange technique that really does give lifelike technique to the final portrait that's created. And apparently this technique was not rediscovered for 1,500 years. So this goes back a good long ways. And so this is one of a couple hundred of these that turned up. And this one is perfect and considered to be the Mona Lisa of the Middle East. There you go.
Yeah, and I'm like what I read from this is that it has been since I think there was 15 centuries between that and the Renaissance, and I suppose they had recognized this as the fine art of the period, but probably that there wasn't as great an advancement in art technique until the Renaissance since this piece. And the mix I think is with wax, wasn't it? That there was quite a connection between wax and pigment to get.
Well, that's why it ends up holding up so well, apparently, is because of the encaustic nature of the way wax functions with the pigment. So like once you put it down and lock it, it stays the way it is basically, unless you get damaged by something like an earthquake or Pompeii or something.
She definitely has that similar resting bitch face that Mona Lisa would have.
Anya, I'd like to have your opinion on that one.
Yeah, I know. It's funny, but yeah, sometimes I'm liking this Mona Lisa of the Middle East. She does have a slightly resting bitch face, but I guess doesn't everyone at a certain moment?
Absolutely.
I honestly have never understood that description. I mean, a portrait by nature, like you have to freeze in place. So like everybody like looks like a stone at some point by having to do that, right? It's like old-fashioned photography from the 19th century where they had to sit there for 15 minutes. Like, it's just not very lifelike in that sense of like humanness.
Yeah, for sure. But it's the same as like when an actor gets headshots. Like, I think we always adapt a pose of like, no matter what you look like, you're being really pouty, even though you're like, I'm not. But that's just the way the most people's mouths land, or whatever way our eyes go. So I guess that's the joys of being a human.
It sure is. I think she's very nicely decorated, though. You know, she's not as her jewels look very pretty, and I'm loving the hat in her head. I think it's very attractive on her.
Well, so I guess apparently because of how well preserved this is, that was the connection to Oscar Wilde and Dorian Gray, right? This idea that like the portrait continues to live on and takes on lifelike characteristics. And so it is very interesting. I mean, we're literally looking at something that's from several thousand years ago. And in terms of its condition, it could literally have been made yesterday. So that's really kind of special in that sort of sense. Whether that's worth $1 million, I mean, you know, suckers are born every minute. I have no idea.
We've definitely witnessed quite a few of those, but I think this probably is worth that. And you know, it's preserving quite a lot of heritage, and it's just, you know, it stands for its legacy, which is great.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true.
I think that tea is spilled, and we move now to a little more sensitive of subject matters. Josh, what's going on here?
See, I don't see this as sensitive at all. This is going on. The Taliban have decided in 3 different provinces in Afghanistan that images of anything with a soul is no longer like allowed, and that includes humans and animals. And this, to me, this isn't about politics at all. This is more about kind of cultural heritage in the way that we're talking about literally with this encaustic from the previous story, right? Like, if you make it impossible to keep a record of what's going on, there's no record for the future. And to me, that's really what this is in terms of a story. It's not about the politics of who's doing this, because plenty of fascists around the world attempt to do exactly the same thing, right? Like, go to North Korea and you'll see pictures of the dear leader that are frozen in time, right? It's this idea that we like the image somehow, by controlling it, you make it impossible for the future to have an accurate sense of what the past was like. And to me, that's the damage, right? It's no different than the tomato twits. Like, this is cultural heritage that belongs to all of us. Get your finger off the scale.
It does, but I think it comes back to control again, but does it not? You know, and what this state is saying, that, you know, that women and animals cannot be visually identified on screen or broadcast anywhere. And I think
it's not just women, men too. Like, it's the idea is that anybody with a soul, anybody with a certain level of anima, the image is not allowed. And like I said, I don't think you can obviously talk about this in terms of religion. I just don't think of it that way. I think about it more about politics, about the exertion of power. Áine, what do you think? Where are you on this?
I think it's crazy. Wow, like not to be able, to ban images outright. Like, I guess we know the Taliban is a crazy entity as it is, but they seem to be able to suck the soul from every little thing that is good, or that like, imagine if that was like, they're the things like that, they're the reason we're artists, is because there's an image, or because there's something there. So it is a power thing, it is a control thing when people just decide they can, like, what is left if there isn't images, or even the joy of an image to bring back a memory, like, even if no one else was to see it, only you, but we all know the power of images. So that's actually just really sad and so tragic. And also the saddest thing is, I guess, Afghanistan and the Taliban, like, they don't get enough airtime on the extreme things that are happening there. So, like, is that even mainstream news about these images being banned?
But I guess to me, I just see this as like straight out of Orwell. And the same thing happens in plenty of different places around the world, right? It's like certain things are allowed, certain things are not allowed. It's about power and control.
Yeah.
And like the particular decision made of what's allowed may differ by the particular location. But the basic premise here is somehow there's a certain like a catalog of images that people are allowed access to, and that they're not allowed access to. And like I'm a straight up libertarian when it comes to kind of this kind of stuff. Throw it out there, right? Like, information needs to be free, and then people can make their own goddamn choices. And that's really what it comes down to. Whoever your invisible friend is, I don't care.
Free is the optimal word here, though. You know, they're not getting the freedom that they deserve. You know, and I think that's it's censorship to the extreme when they're removing the right to document even other living things like animals and that, and how we see the development and evolution of life. You know, that's something that's now going to be prevented from if that's going to be halted.
Well, but I think this is a rare example where art actually can do something to make a change, right? Like for once, artists could actually do paintings, do pieces that show life in, say, Afghanistan, and put them out there in the world. And therefore, for the artists who are not able to do that, your art actually can stand in their stead in that way. It doesn't replace it, but it certainly serves as a reminder and a marker, right? And so in that way, the circulation of images can serve as a kind of counter to that intention to like memory hole some of these things. So artists that are like, I don't like this, well then, okay, paint something and put it out and attach it to a message. And then at least you're not adding to the disempowerment, right? Like you do have agency, use it.
I think we'll move on from that story, but that tea has been spilled and it's interesting to learn about that. But now we're going to yet another find, and we seem to be finding new paintings, new artworks every week on Spill the RT, and this one is no less greater than anyone that we've seen before. It's an Emily Carr piece. Josh, what's going on here?
So this is what's called a barn sale up in the Hamptons. For those that don't know, the Hamptons are the place, because New York in the summer is just absolutely abysmal. It's atrocious. So people try to get out of the city, and the Hamptons is one of the places they go to. It's on the water, it's much cooler. And so for like hundreds of years, people have gone up to the Hamptons, and shockingly enough, as we've talked about before, stuff gets stashed away. In this case, it gets stashed away in a barn. And so this was, I forget how much this was, like $150, I believe, as a purchase. It turns out to be a very famous painter's work. And I think the dead giveaway here is just, if you look at the piece, it's an odd kind of creature. It's not your standard kind of painting of wildlife. Speaking of creatures with souls.
Oh gosh. It's very cool though, and you know it's great that it's yet another find, another attic find, but they're hoping to get this for I think $150,000 on auction, and yeah, that's just a nice bit of money from something that was left untapped. You
never know what you're going to wander into.
My uncle actually started dabbling in like it's only bringing back memories in the last few years, or maybe it was pre-COVID, I'm trying to think. He did start to like buy art online, as in older pieces, and then he had one or two pieces that I think like were actually art pieces of note. Personally, like what I do is what I'm a sucker for is I love to go to art museums, and I always buy postcards. I have about probably like hundreds of famous paintings, but in postcard form. I guess eventually I might be able to afford real things. I'm not that good. I should get better at actually going to places where I might actually be able to root up something of note. But so far, no, I haven't come across anything really that good.
You'll get lucky something.
But that's kind of cool, right? I mean, to me, like you do have the art, because if you put those together in like an album or something, right, or a bunch of them in a frame, like you could never have the real art in that kind of way. Like I think people devalue the fact that by putting it into people's hands on an individual basis, it becomes much more personal in terms of the relationship to the artwork. And to me, that's really cool. Like a collection of those kinds of postcards says way more than the selfie that people have taken in front of artwork they never actually looked on. You know what I mean?
Totally, yeah. And I actually have some like really good prints that I bought. I was in Buenos Aires a few years ago, and it was the first time I saw like a Frida Kahlo piece in the flesh. And I honestly had a moment when I was like, this, like she actually painted this, like that was incredible. So I bought that print. Actually, my sister bought the same print as well. So I have a few really nice, like that had like obviously I wasn't going to ever be able to afford the real Frida Kahlo, or nor would it be for sale probably, but it was nice that I was able to take that home in print format. But I still know the moment I had knowing that the piece on the wall was something that she had, like, was the real object she had painted. So yeah, that was a great experience. But I agree, maybe when collections are put together, it can mean something,
Absolutely.
But I think even the print itself now has a story that's attached to it, right? And so the print starts to take on your energy and your story essence, and then the print itself takes on a life, right? Sure. Like I just think that that's the beautiful thing about the ability. People talk about in the modern world that we can like duplicate images so much that it like takes away the power. I think it's the opposite. because then people make choices about what they actually want around them. And the people who care about those people will keep those things when they're gone, because that's what mattered to those people, right? And so there's this kind of propagation of what you care about through your choices. Like, I think that's a wonderful thing, because it makes it much more personal to the individual.
You're very profound this evening, Josh.
I'm deep. I am so deep.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we go back into your beautiful words of wisdom, we're going to just learn a little bit about Nua Collective now. So we'll take a small break. Nua Collective, a visual art community, is home to 20 artists and hundreds of their artworks, with fresh work added weekly to our online collection at www.nuacollective.com. Here you will find our Nua Journal featuring articles and podcasts, which are also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Our beautiful print publications highlighting our collaborative collections are available to buy, and they are perfect for your art book collection. We have the Scatter art book publication now available to buy, our latest collection, and you can also buy those artworks available at www.nuacollective.com/scatter. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok, like this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on us spilling the RT in our weekly roundups every Monday. Now, there we go, folks. That's Nua Collective. We've lots going on. Everything is happening. So make sure that you do check it all out. And remember, we do have an exclusive discount, don't we, Josh?
We do have an exclusive discount. If you look down below, you'll actually see what that discount should be used to get. Are we still at 15%?
15%. 15%.
15% from living artists. Come on, such a bargain.
It's crazy. And the artworks already are bargain. Like, you get crazy, crazy, crazy prices. It's like ridiculous.
True. And you're supporting living artists while they're alive. To me, that's the more important thing.
Yes. And
everyone says they love art, but here's a chance to actually buy some art.
Yeah. 100%. So check out nuacollective.com. You can see our full collection there and support living artists this Christmas time. Look, I'm talking about Christmas already, and we haven't even reached Halloween. So we'll get
that's true
next week.
That's true. Holidays. The holidays are coming. This is the time. You got to go to parties. You got to bring something with you. Everyone brings liquor. Why not bring art? Why not bring art for multiple people? Small works. We got to have small works. We got to have them available. We'll have them available.
We'll talk about
for you folks. From us to you.
Yeah.
We deliver.
We
deliver.
Right, Josh. So, moving on.
Speaking of delivering, off to Naples we go.
This is not the kind of segue that you want to have for this sort of topic.
Oh, but it is.
But
it is. And I want to preface this, folks. The piece that this one replaced was called Venus of the Rags, which was a supersized version of a Roman sculpture next to a mound of discarded clothes. So let's just give some context for what comes next.
I will get the
which is a 12-foot high phallus. And when I say phallus, I don't mean that it's phallic-like. No, I mean that it is literally a phallus. And it is called Tu si una cosa grande. You're a big thing.
Wow.
And this is public art in Naples.
Oh dear. I have no
words.
What
do we think?
I have no words. It's very erect, isn't it?
I think you can stroke the topic many ways.
I'm speechless. I have a picture of it at night, so it's all lit up. You know, there's the heart and arrow that's in the foreground of this image. I think that's trying to connect you with love or something, you know, generally what the bow and arrow is, you know, it's supposed to be Cupid finding love for your significant other. Yet this is very lusty all at the same time. So I don't know if you're going to get true love here. It might just be a one-night stand that you're getting.
We have so many commercials in the US to use various kinds of sexual enhancement pills. All this reminds me of is like one of those as a still. Love will bring you erect.
Tear sizes and everything, you know. What do you think, Áine?
It's fun. Like, I think it is. I mean, I don't know why. I think there should be more of these things around because these things around.
You mean like the penis or the sculpture?
Oh, the penis and sculpture, a mix of both in all capacities. But yeah, I think I like it because it just like that it brings a conversation around a piece of art. So like it sparks immediately discussion, and like if you just put something that was quite a lot of the time, like sculptures go like completely unnoticed unless it's someone with an eye for art or someone that might notice something like that. Whereas this, everyone's going to talk about it, and I think it's brilliant, to be honest. Is it just an installation for like a short period of time, or is this supposed to be something permanent
It's
there?
not permanent, but I think you bring up
No.
a really good point there. I think like, you know, a lot of art goes unnoticed, and we talked a lot about, you know, spectator art, about art that tries to get attention, about, you know, guerrilla art, that sort of thing, where, you know, things are put in places to say something. Like even like last week we were just talking about the Just Stop Oil people who are trying to make an active remark on something, whereas this is probably, I don't know, talking about erectile dysfunction or something, you know, and you get people talking about that. But it's still, as you can see, there's people there looking at it, they're engaging with it, and like it's fun. And you know, fun always sells, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think in the US, this already would have been blown up by somebody.
Oh, oh dear.
And that too amuses me, right? Because in the US, public art gets, you know, beheaded. So that would have attempted this, and it would have been like a brick in public. I don't know. It is what it is.
So many words, so many words. Tell him to stop quick. Okay. Right. Moving swiftly along. I'm trying not to say any other word that begins or rhymes like that. Okay.
Come on. You want to rub against this topic. You know you do.
Oh, you're such a teenager. Okay. Moving on. Here we go. So this is a very, very beautiful piece of
this is a shield.
It's a shield.
I love when he gets flustered. It's so fantastic.
As a child or something. I'm so embarrassed. I'm red and pink and every other color of the rainbow, but bloody.
So this is a shield of, what was this called?
Magdala.
The Shield of Magdala, which went back to Ethiopia. We've talked before about repatriating artworks.
Yes.
This apparently was a very important cultural piece going back to when Britain kind of ran rampant through the country back in the 19th century. And so this, along with many other things, obviously ended up kind of being expatriated out of the country and has now been repatriated to Ethiopia. And it kind of marks yet another step in our ongoing series of how things that have cultural significance belong with the people who want them.
No, absolutely. I think is it now in Ethiopia? It's now back in Ethiopia, yeah. But it was in a British museum or something, wasn't it, to kind of get some restoration?
Yeah, it was in the British Museum since about the late 19th century.
Yeah, but it is stunning. And I think, again, it's one of these things that really showcases the rich culture of the multi-different nationals that are, you know, representative of art. And I think this is actually going back to the Taliban issue that we've had earlier, where, you know, there's stopping and censoring the making of works. And
I just remembered why I added this, though, because I thought it was very ironic. It's actually not in Ethiopia. It's in Ohio until the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Because by putting it on the road, money comes into Ethiopia from being on display in museums around the world. See how the modern world works, folks? You can have your cultural object, but in order to get people to pay you for it, they got to be able to see it. And so it makes sense, I think, from an Ethiopian perspective, let it go around the world for a little bit, bring in some cash, and then come back home to Ethiopia in the end.
Yeah, but it opens up that dialogue too, you know, I think of like what's happening in Ethiopia, and for people to remember what's happening in Ethiopia and to see that there's still, you know, something that's culturally significant that's coming from there, and that we need to still support them.
Sure. Or I'm just a cynical bastard and see things in a different light.
But that's okay. I was just trying to put a positive light on it, Josh, and now you've flipped it back again. Thank you for that.
What do you think, Áine? Where are you on the light or dark on this?
Yeah, I guess if a piece can bring in some money, and obviously if like Ethiopia has been deprived of it for a very long time, maybe it wanted a bit of airtime in Ohio. So, but I don't know, it's a debate for sure. I think it's a debate for sure.
Well, it's an interesting idea, right? I mean, because it's been on display and been making money for the UK as part of its British presentation, right, in the museum. So by putting it on the road like that, it is kind of like, we often talk in the US about, like, it's not about repatriating objects, it's actually about giving people money because of the history in the United States, right? And so this is a way to kind of really return funds back to people in a very direct kind of way.
I'm all for the money and the awareness, so bring it all on.
I'm all for the money.
All that thing about artistic exposure and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, eventually artists got to eat as well.
It does. Speaking of exposure,
only if they're living artists, which is why you should buy from them. Just saying.
You said that
15%.
Gosh, are you trying to like say something there? Speaking of exposure, we're gonna expose you a little bit on you now, in all the best way possibles. And talk about what it is that you're up to right now.
Yeah, so I'm just getting ready for Paddy Goes to Petra, which is one of my plays, which is happening in Dublin. From the 4th to the 23rd of November. So it's on in Bewley's Cafe Theatre, which does a lunchtime program. So it's going to be on there every day at 1 p.m. except for the 14th, which is an evening performance at 7 p.m.
Right.
So yeah, we're really excited. It's the first time that I'm having a show run for 3 weeks in Dublin. So it's my kind of first substantial run of a play in Dublin. So I'm very excited for that. And yeah, Brendan is really excited. We're looking forward to seeing how it goes with an Irish audience and a Dublin audience, and fingers crossed it will go well. Yeah, and a lunchtime slot as well. So
you want to tell us a little bit about the play?
Yes, so I'm glad I have the title because it kind of is summed up really in the title. It's about an Irish man who goes to Petra in the Middle East. His background is him and his wife, their son has died unexpectedly, and to heal themselves or to bring a bit of happiness back into their lives, they start to travel. And they go to lots of different places, but he is still like absolutely in the depths of depression and still so much grief for the loss of his son. But when he gets to Petra, it's the first time that like he befriends the Bedouins, and it's the first time that he actually feels a bit of joy and excitement, and he pretends to lose his passport so he doesn't have to go home. And the idea of the play came when I traveled to Petra myself, and I was there over Christmas, and I was meeting a lot of people that were like, missing Christmas for some reason, or like their own kind of background for maybe like being away from family or traveling at that time of year, because Christmas can be a painful time of year for certain people. And for some reason I wanted to write about grief and kind of a rural Irish man's often like stoic take on grief, or lack of feeling they're able to grieve, always putting on like a highly, I guess, like ultra masculine, or kind of not allowing themselves to be emotionally vulnerable. So I kind of wanted to use that, and then I just used my own journey, like, and kind of the joy that I had in traveling to Petra and befriending Bedouins and stuff. I kind of combined the two. So it's a very unusual mix for a play, but it's an adventure, and hopefully like the audience kind of feel like they get to go to Petra themselves. And the play, a few people have seen it, and like I know one particular man, he's going to Petra himself in, I think it's this December or November, off the back of seeing the play, because he was like, I just need to go there. So yeah, so that's what the play is about. And then so it's mainly about grief, love, and healing.
Very good.
Are you working on the screenplay to go with it? Because it sounds like a perfect film.
It would be good as a film. I've thought of that before, but I've never attempted to write anything for that in a screenplay capacity. But watch this space.
No, there you go. You've heard it on first on Spill the RT. So
exactly,
Petra on the big screen very soon. So cool.
Coming soon to you, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. You've heard it here first. Let's put that out there. Áine, what else are you working on? I know you've got a couple of other bits and pieces happening.
Yeah, so I'm actually working on another play about a woman in Istanbul, an Irish woman getting a nose job in Istanbul. I was recently in Turkey, and because I had such a great time writing about I love to travel, and I'm always do everything I can to travel at whatever opportunity I can. So if I can combine writing with travel, it works out so good. So I was actually in South Korea as well at the start of the year, and that is like a massive place for cosmetic surgery. And then going to Istanbul, just walking around, seeing so many people after getting surgery, it just inspired the story of why this woman in her like a middle-aged woman would suddenly want a nose job. And it just is about like beauty standards, and also like the joy of also like the possibility of surgery for some people, because it can be a great thing for a lot of people and like really boost their confidence and all of that kind of thing. So I just want to lean a bit more into that.
Okay.
And then I'm just working on a few other writing projects as well, so that's what I'm at the moment.
Busy, so
yeah, exactly.
Very good, very good. Áine, you've been royally accoladed for lots of different things that you've done. For Paddy Goes to Petra has had a ton of awards. Kitty in the Lane has received quite a few awards in the London theatre scene and in Ireland as well. So I mean, you are definitely one to watch, and it's really super to see an Irish Tipperary woman do so well. So congratulations on all of that, and we're delighted to hear you talk about it as well. And remember, folks, if you do get a chance to go to see Paddy Goes to Petra, it's on in Bewley's in Dublin from the 4th of November until the 23rd at 1 p.m. So it is a lunchtime gig, so you don't need to go and do your nose job at lunchtime. You can just go and watch a really cool play.
You'll be able to say, I remember when, I knew her when.
Exactly.
Fear of missing out. Don't do it, folks.
Don't miss out. Don't miss out. But that's really cool, Áine, and it's really, really exciting to see that you're doing so well and doing so much. And watch this space, everybody. But thank you very much, Áine, for coming on today. We've really enjoyed having you on, and we hope that you've enjoyed spilling tea with us.
Definitely. Thank you guys for having me.
Definitely bring you back on when we got that world premiere. So, Josh, before we head away, what are our audience members to do?
Episode 22, folks. Imagine what 23 will be. As we keep getting older, we get weirder, odder. Who knows? But if you don't subscribe, like, share, send to 3 friends, think about how your life will be incomplete unless we are part of your life every day. There's now so many episodes, you could literally listen to us for an entire day. That's how great we are. That's how important in your life. What the hell is going on?
As Josh gets schizophrenic over there in the corner, I don't know what's going on, but maybe perhaps you could come back to planet Earth.
What the hell is going on? I say go with it, bro.
I say no.
What is going on?
I don't know.
I'm here.
Okay, well, Josh seems to be gone, and that's all we have time for, folks. So join us next week on Spill the RT as we are joined by yet another new guest. But until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye,
folks.